little fight on the landing ground.
Thank you for joining us. You are listening to A Radio, and this is the Morning Moment. Please click on the follow button on Spreaker.com. Today's Morning Moment, I'm going to take you around the world very quickly. Where are we today? Now, this morning on Fox and Friends, there was Professor Alan Dershowitz talking about Donald Trump being accused of obstruction of justice. In the UK, you've got Terrisa May criticising Trump and ignoring Islamic activists in her own country, 30,000 of them. Trudeau, more concerned about minorities than complete provinces. Germany at the stage of complete political collapse. North Korea threatening our very existence. China trying to undermine the US on its back door. And then you see the link. There's only one common thread here, and it's George Soros. So we'll begin. The first one. Donald Trump, the President of the United States. If Professor Dershowitz is correct, they're attacking President Trump for doing his job. And as he says, this will cause a constitutional crisis. Why would any politician want that? Is it more important than your country to try and, at the very least, impede your leader, and at the very worst, bring down the whole of your country's political and economic system to score points? Maybe you should question that. Theresa May, UK Prime Minister, not liking a comment made by President Trump on what she and the mainstream media have labelled a far-right hate group, exposing what's going on in the UK. Remember, of course, the UK has hate speech laws and no free speech, rather than dealing with the 30,000 known terrorists in the UK. Trudeau? Let's get back to Canada. A Prime Minister making an hour-long speech last week on something the majority of Canadians consider to be already dealt with, an hour-long speech, while at the same time sending millions of dollars abroad to third world nations, which we are borrowing, by the way, to do God knows what, all while destroying a once great province, that being Alberta, out of complete vindictiveness. Not to mention attacking Canadians' rights to free speech, which is in fact in our charter. And finally, doing what all socialists do, raiding the ever-shrinking defence budget to pay for an ever-increasing social fund and the never-ending unfunded stream of minority culture refugees. Continuing the work of his predecessors, that being turning a once prosperous, vibrant and healthy country and the people into a bitterly divided one, with fewer and fewer prospects other than higher taxes, more state control of your lives, and the inevitable shortages of goods and services that will come with full-blown socialism. Germany, a once proud, prosperous nation, in the hands of a socialist progressive named Merkel, being brought to its economic knees in less than one generation by just one thing: massive, uncontrolled immigration. And now they face a future of minority-controlled government, if at all. North Korea. North Korea is threatening our very existence. There is only one country standing up to them, and it's certainly not mine. People say we can't do anything. Well, if we don't, we will live not only in a country, but a world under threat. Picture this, if you would. You wake up one morning and somebody says, if you don't give me this or do that, I'll nuke you. And you know he can do it. That's what we face. In the meantime, the rest of the world turns its back, just like ostriches with their heads in the sand. Can't see it, it won't hurt me. No, it's more important to deprive citizens of the world free speech and the right to burn fossil fuels, and rather to tax human beings for breathing. Makes you think, doesn't it? China. China trying to undermine the US on its back door. Trudeau is trying to implement a free trade deal with China that can only be a complete disaster for Canada. By allowing China unfettered access to Canada's natural resources will only cause friction between the US and Canada at best, and at worst it will be an all-out trade war. Canada can only be a loser in this. But remember, Trudeau is a socialist at best, but I for one am convinced he's a communist, and China of course is a communist country, So that can't end well for Canada, can it? Do you honestly think Canadians will get to vote on this free trade bill? Not in a million years. So what's the link to all this? Well, I did allude to that at the beginning. I believe it's George Soros. He is involved with unsettling the US political system and economic system. He's been heavily involved in Europe for many years and China. He's definitely been involved, I understand, to try and influence the Brexit vote, but didn't succeed there so far. Germany, many are saying he's been behind the massive influx of migrants that destabilised most of Europe. He works very closely with China. And of course he is a chief advisor to Trudeau. He is also involved with the UN and Agenda 2030. All of this unrest is not a coincidence. And remember, it will not be long before you won't be even able to talk about this. And your favourite parties brought you to this. And you never even saw it coming, did you? You are the frog in the boiling pot. Your thoughts? You can find more at aradio.wordpress.com, where you can find links to us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Gab and email. We are continuing to reach out to you, so please pass on the links. Please click on the follow button on Spreaker.com. You can listen to all my morning moments at Spreaker.com under A Radio, that's EHRADIO, A Radio. And please click on the like button. And you can find all my podcasts and morning moments at aradio.wordpress.com and click on the Morning Moments tab.